Hello and welcome to Round 7 of Grand Prix Denver. I'm Ben Swartz, joined here in the booth by Marshall Sutcliffe. We've got Sam Black on the left-hand side of your screen, facing off against Matt Nass on the right-hand side of your screen. Matt Nass came equipped to this tournament with elves, as you see a turn 1 Finhorn elves for him.
Yep.
Sam Black playing his trademark zombies deck.
Yeah, I mean, it does have zombies in it. It also has cards like Deathrite Shaman. Looks like it's made its full 4 of here as well. Looks like that we're going to see, once again, 8 of those in our feature match area. Also, Lingering Souls, like you mentioned, Thoughtseize and Cabal Therapy, plus Tide Hollow Sculler to help with the hand disruption. It looks like a Thoughtseize is what we're going to see right away from Sam Black. It's going to reveal a hand of Wirewood Symbiote, Glimpse of Nature, Misty Rainforest, and a Deathrite Shaman?
Yeah, so here, Thoughtseize is really devastating for Matt because...
Did he mold it? So does that mean he molded 6?
No, he's got 6 cards. Unless there's one off the screen that we can't see. But again, this is going to be devastating. Taking that Glimpse of Nature or perhaps the Deathrite Shaman is going to leave Matt on the back foot, and that opening could be the exact opening Sam needs to get his engine running.
That's right.
His zombie, Goblin Bombardment, Lingering Souls engine running.
I'm going to play Green Sun's for 0.
So for those of you that haven't seen Sam Black's deck, the idea with it is...
His deck's crazy.
It is crazy. There's so many different cards. They're attacking at weird angles.
Carrion Feeder?
Yeah. He's got a lot of cards that interact with the graveyard. So he's got cards like Faithless Looting and Lingering Souls, Cabal Therapy cards with flashback, and cards that come back from the graveyard like Bloodghast and Gravecrawler, and ways to sack and abuse those interactions. So Goblin Bombardment sacks Gravecrawler, Carrion Feeder sacks Gravecrawler to buy back while gaining incremental advantage, all the while coming over with Faithless Looting tokens and disrupting their opponent with hand disruption like we see here in the form of Thoughtseize.
Sam's kind of talking through what the potential situations are here as far as what he needs to take, and it looks like he settled on the Glimpse of Nature.
And Matt peels an Elvish Visionary off the top of his library.
He can cast it. He's got mana on the table to do it, plus he's got another land, so if there's he can play like Symbiote and Visionary.
Yeah, Matt didn't mulligan. There was a Heritage Druid off screen.
Oh, there was?
Yeah.
Ah, well, that's certainly relevant. But it looks like Sam decided that the Glimpse was more important. Second Bayou for Matt Nass.
That's actually really sick, is that Matt's hand was just really, really explosive.
Yeah, it was really good.
Without that Glimpse of Nature, I mean, he can play his hand out, but that's...
It's pretty funny how explosive these hands can be. I mean, normally if your opponent goes turn 1 Finhorn Elves, you're like, yeah, sure, you're going to make a 3-drop, but no, not this deck.
So here we see Deathrite Shaman and Heritage Druid come down, Matt producing 3 green mana, casting Elvish Visionary, and then casting Wirewood Symbiote.
So now he would have been drawing cards for each one of those creatures if he had the Glimpse, but as it stands, he's just going to dump his hand out here, and it looks like he's going to return something with Crane Ranger.
Play second Symbiote, and pass the turn back, holding that Heritage Druid.
All right, so his entire hand is on the table with the exception of that one Heritage Druid. And is his plan just going to be start attacking?
Either attacking...
He's got 5 power out on turn 2.
Or start drawing a bunch of cards with the Wirewood Symbiote, Elvish Visionary combination.
And try to actually combo him out. Because Sam's already at 17.
Yeah, I mean, I might not call combo out, but accelerate himself out into something a little bit bigger.
Okay.
Cabal Therapy comes down.
He's targeting himself. And he's going to...
Wow.
And he's going to get... Yeah, so Sam targets himself with the Cabal Therapy. He's going to get a Bloodghast in the graveyard. And he's going to play an Undiscovered Paradise. And there's going to be a trigger from Bloodghast. That brings it back onto the battlefield. Now remember, Bloodghast cannot black, but he's going to sacrifice it and pay a black mana.
No, he's just going to sacrifice it and Cabal Therapy Bloodghast. Or, sorry, Cabal Therapy targeting Matt Nass.
Yep.
To get rid of the Heritage Druid that he knew Matt Nass had because of the Wirewood Symbiote.
And he's going to play a Carrion Feeder post-con.
So that's one of the other combinations in Sam Black's deck, that Undiscovered Paradise. Every time it gets untapped, it returns to his hand, so he can replay it, buy back that Bloodghast, and do things.
Yep.
At the end of Sam's turn, Matt's going to return the Elvish Visionary to his hand, push one of his 2 Wirewood Symbiotes off screen. Hopefully we can get that adjusted for you guys at home.
He's over to the left a bit. All right, so Visionary is going to resolve. What was that he drew?
He drew another land.
Okay.
Another Verdant Catacombs.
Yeah, Sam sees what we were going for with with the marked areas on the playmat.
So Finhorn Elves tapping for mana,
1 mana.
returning the Elvish Visionary, untapping the Finhorn Elves.
I'll return Elvish Visionary. Yep.
Right, now he's going to turn that Wildwood Symbiote upside down to indicate that he's used that one for the turn.
Yep.
Since he can only use it once per turn.
Another land
it is
for
not
mana.
detained.
So Matt can cast that Elvish Visionary again this turn by tapping Deathrite Shaman and untapping Finhorn Elves with the Wirewood Symbiote's ability. And he'll play Verdant Catacombs. If you're Matt,
So is there any reason why he wouldn't want to do that here?
I don't know. Maybe he wants to hold it in case Sam's got a way to destroy it.
Okay.
Destroy the Elvish Visionary. But he could do that anyway.
But he gets to do them both on Sam's turn. So yeah, I'm not sure.
So Sam returns that Undiscovered Paradise to his hand. Polluted Delta comes into play, triggering Bloodghast. I assume this is in response to the Bloodghast trigger. Matt Nass is sacrificing and cracking his Verdant Catacombs.
So the feeder is currently a 1/1 that cannot block.
Good.
But he can sack a creature to put a +1/+1 counter on it. So that's going to get incrementally bigger over the course of the game. As he's going to get that Bloodghast back as many times as he wants for no mana.
Okay.
So in response to the Bloodghast trigger, Matt is considering using Deathrite Shaman to remove the Bloodghast.
All right, so you just wanted to leave mana up for that.
And if I recall correctly, Deathrite Shaman's part of the cost is removing the creature.
No, it's not.
It's not?
No, it's pay the mana and tap it is the cost, and then you have to remove it. So
in response, Sam could crack his Polluted Delta.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
That's what he's going to do.
Yep.
Which, in response, likely Matt Nass is going to return his Elvish Visionary, untap Deathrite Shaman,
I'll return Visionary, untap Finhorn Elves.
Yep.
I'll float a green.
return something. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he also had to return the Finhorn Elves. He tapped it for mana before he did that to float a green, and he is, in fact, going to get that Bloodghast out of the yard thanks to the Deathrite Shaman's second activation.
So that was a little complicated interaction.
It was.
Matt untap the Finhorn Elf by returning Elvish Visionary to his hand, tap it for mana, untap the Deathrite Shaman, returning Finhorn Elf to his hand
Yes,
to activate.
exactly.
But now Sam no longer has that Bloodghast, so his chain has ended for the moment.
Again, Matt putting the symbiotes upside down to let us know, and that's a Goblin Bombardment.
Let's see if Sam wants to use it right this instant to get rid of one of those symbiotes. And he does. Sacrifices Carrion Feeder. 1 damage to that Wirewood symbiote.
If Sam can cobble 2 creatures together, he can take down the Deathrite Shaman. So it's going to be, it's now based on Sam's ability to get more creatures into play. I do see that he's got a Carrion Feeder in his hand. So next turn he will be able to activate it again, but it's going to leave him pretty much with nothing. I think he's only got Carrion Feeder, Undiscovered Paradise in his hand, maybe another card. Does look like there's 3, it's hard to tell.
I think this is going to be an explosive turn.
Oh, he's got a Gravecrawler as well.
Okay.
So he can actually take out either both the symbiote and the shaman. Excuse me, the visionary or the shaman, depending on what Matt does on this turn. Take out anything else critical.
I played a lot with Bug against elves, and game 1 wasn't really that great.
Matt cracks a Misty Rainforest to get a basic forest. 4 mana natural order. Okay. 2 Heritage Druids.
I'll return Visionary.
That's not 4 mana, sorry, it's 2 mana. Now 3 mana. He's going to untap one of his creatures using Wirewood Symbiote.
That's cool.
And replay that Elvish Visionary. And he can tap those 3 elves again. Cast another Elvish Visionary, draw another card. Cast that Finhorn Elves.
I think he's just going to be forced to say go here, but having that symbiote active means that it's the first thing that needs to get targeted.
Yeah. Undiscovered Paradise comes into play. And now Sam's going to cast that Carrion Feeder, the second one he had, and then
He's
cast
also got the
Gravecrawler.
Gravecrawler, yep.
Use
So-
Gravecrawler.
First, yep.
Yep, just like you were saying.
Yep, and then he can recast the Gravecrawler because Carrion Feeder's a zombie. He does exactly that. Now he's got 2 activations here, and he needs to decide what to take out. I'm assuming the Heritage Druids are the prime.
Yep.
I mean, he certainly doesn't want to have that Deathrite Shaman on the table forever, but right now I think that, Sam's got to start getting concerned because Matt can just start to get aggressive at some point, right? Like,
It's interesting that
his guys can't block. Neither of Sam's creatures can block. Just start hitting them for 5 every turn? I don't know.
yeah.
At some point.
The way Matt played this left his mana open, made it unable for him to remove that Gravecrawler using Deathrite Shaman's ability. But he's going to take out that Deathrite Shaman so he can continually rebuy that Gravecrawler the next time he draws a zombie. But now he's given Matt a pretty big opening.
Yeah.
And Matt draws something huge, a Wirewood Symbiote, the third one.
First he's going to play an Elvish Visionary. And
Gaia's Cradle,
his Cradle.
5 mana,
Return the 6 one.
still 5 mana. 3 mana, recast that Visionary, draw a card.
So yeah, refund. Yeah.
2 mana, Deathrite Shaman. Attacking for 5.
There he is. So here we are now. He's starting the beatdown plan.
And now, thanks to that Deathrite Shaman, Sam's pretty close to dead. Might not seem that way.
Yeah, Sam missed his trigger on that Undiscovered Paradise, but just quickly picked it up after his draw step. I think maybe Matt might have reminded him. Okay, Lingering Souls is not bad at all here. Lingering Souls trades with basically all the creatures on the table.
I'm sure the coverage will love that.
And he finds a couple of random cards to act as spirit tokens. Hopefully we'll get some spirits. You don't get a Pillar Field Ox that easily, my friend.
So I'm trying to do the math. Matt can use that Deathrite Shaman twice, which is pretty big. That will drop Sam down to 7 life and attack in with all his creatures, which is 6 power, would deal Sam
Advertising
4.
yourself.
Would have meant 3, that's close. If there's something else that Matt has, if he can draw a Craterhoof Behemoth, something like that.
Conveniently, Luis Scott Vargas just happens to have his 2 tokens there. Hey, that's actually a token I made for him. His wife had me make that for him. Yeah.
That's cute.
Yeah.
So Sam used the Goblin Bombardment to sacrifice one of the Lingering Souls tokens to take out that Wirewood Symbiote. In response, Matt returned the Elvish Visionary to his hand.
So that Lingering Souls in the Yard is not long for this world.
No. Sure isn't. Visionary comes down again. Quirion Ranger was drawn by
Slow clap.
You will?
Matt's crashes in with all his creatures.
And Sam looks like he is going to block Heritage Druid. Visionary. There's 2 of each of those. Yet another Deathrite Shaman and the Ranger that you just mentioned.
Lingering Souls gets the axe. Sam goes down to 7. He's going to return a Forest Juice Hand, untap Deathrite Shaman. Still has mana floating thanks to the Guy's Cradle, but we'll pass the turn back holding a mana.
Sam keeps forgetting his Undiscovered Paradise, but he's going to go for a Faithless Looting, draw 2, discard 2, and I think he's going to scoop. Yep, and there it is. Matt Nass is able to control really the graveyard of Sandblack long enough to create critical mass on 1/1 creatures and eventually kill Sam.
So that's quite interesting. We saw both sides of the coin there from what we brought up in the pregame. Both hand disruption and a quick start from Matt. But here we get a sneak peek. Luis got Vargas versus Shahar Shenhar. Shahar is playing the same deck Conley and Eric Froelich are playing. The 4-color bug deck.
Looks like we've come at
Call
just the right time. Luis
Shahar.
just cast natural.
Last name or
Okay.
last name Shahar.
Trying to figure out what he wants to
Shahar.
sacrifice here.
It's part of the cost, right?
Yes.
So he's got to figure it out now before Shahar needs to decide what he wants to, if he wants to counter or what he wants to do. I don't think Shahar has a counter though. Did you see one?
I think all of his counters require islands.
Because he's also not running
Yeah.
Force of Will. Okay. Yeah, this lack of Force of Will has been really interesting. I mean, it's cleared the way for Luis to just slam Progenitus here and put Shahar on what's likely a 2-turn clock, although, yeah, it looks like Shahar actually, yeah, because he went and got Umezawa's Jite. You know, he's not going to get a batter skull against the Elves guy.
I don't think he even has batter skull.
Oh, okay.
I mean, this is post board. It's possibly isn't it? He does have it in his board.
It looks like Luis was able to take down the first game, and Shahar shrugs and says, I guess I take 10.
Protection from everything?
Everything. That's a big word, just everything.
Wait, so you can't block it? But you should be able to search the plowshares.
You can't block it with something.
With what about?
You're not allowed to block it with something. Alright, so Wirewood symbiote for Luis Scott Vargas, and he looks like he's in the driver's seat here. Just battle the next turn. He's going to put up a little bit of insurance here. One thing about Legacy is that big sweeper effects don't usually apply. Wrath of God and that type of effect don't often come in. All right, so Shahar is going to have the opportunity to gain some life here as he flashes in his, but even then it wouldn't matter. His Jite, because Luis actually just put up enough for lethal by itself.
So Luis Scott Vargas wins the match 2-0 over Shahar Shenhar. He'll advance on to 6-1. Shahar's 5-2, going into the final round of day one, next round.
So for those of you just joining us here, we just saw Luis win 2-0 over Shahar, Battle of the Platinums there. But in our other feature match, we have Sam Black versus Matt Nass. One of them.
I don't remember what I played instead, but
Turn that you brainstormed instead.
Sam Black.
I said
Sam
go
Black.
and then brainstorm.
And then you played Liliana.
And Sam Black is playing one of the more unique decks that you'll find in Legacy. It's a deck that he made himself, and it can be pretty tough. You can make a reasonable Legacy deck yourself because you have such a great choice, but it's really hard to make a really top-tier Legacy deck without using a lot of the tools that are already in use. You know, you see kind of a lot of rearranging of similar spells, but it's hard to come up with something wholly original. And he's done that here with his quote zombies deck. It's a graveyard manipulation deck that's really good, and he's put certainly a lot of time into it. I don't know if I've watched him play it online a few times as well.
Yeah, I mean, I believe the first tournament he used it at was Grand Prix Atlanta back in just before the beginning of July this year.
Just on your turn.
That was also like Super Grand Prix.
Yeah.
That was won by Go Dennis Vitigeris.
Yeah.
He was playing
Rugged Delver. Yep.
Did you go to that
I
event?
probably did a little bit better job than that. I'd be like, look through my deck, shuffle, and be
had a recent
and on your turn,
high finish at a Legacy event as well.
I would let you use these, or did you pull the gift cards?
He finished
Oh,
top
that's right.
4, I believe.
Yeah, of a independent.
Yeah. So this deck certainly has proven itself in his hands. Now, it hasn't really caught on outside of that, or caught on, because it's really hard to play.
Yeah.
It seems like a rough matchup unless I play Plague.
I mean, I've seen people play it, just not with the same success that Sam has had.
That's right.
I tested more with Bug than any other deck, but like.
So these players are
I didn't
getting
really
ready
wanna
to
play a
play
ton of
game 2 here. Matt Nass up a game over Sam Black. Matt Nass on the same Elves deck that we saw the tail end of
I don't think
Luis.
they do. I played with Stoneforges, and I
Play?
didn't like them, but maybe.
Sam starts things off by playing Bloodstained Mire,
I played Bug with
cracking it to go get a land.
I mean, I could be wrong. I only played like 8 games or so against the mirror with Stoneforges.
Looks like
But
Sam
I
brought in
wasn't,
his swords
like,
to
overly impressed.
plowshares.
Problem is if you play
And
a
likely
Stoneforge
his
and
Zealous
then they just
Persecution and
kill it
Dark
or just kill the
Blast.
equipment you get. Like, do you have a batter skull?
Those seem to fare well against the Elves deck.
I don't know.
Whereas
Batter
it's
skull
very,
is
very
just
likely that
just to broke the key of the jib. It's not that
Matt
horrible.
brought in his
I didn't like
extra natural order and his Progenitus.
Yeah, Progenitus seems quite good against Sam. All right, so Thoughtseize to lead things off after a Badlands. And it looks like
There's a Heritage Druid, a
Austin, like round
Misty Rainforest, two
2 Deathrite
Deathrite
Shamans.
Shamans, 2 Verdant Catacombs, and a Green Sun Zenith.
Whew. So one of those Deathrite Shamans certainly has to be high on Sam's list.
Invisible Stalker format.
Yeah.
Green Sun Zenith, unfortunately, offers redundancy. It also offers the ability for Matt to find, a combo piece. He's already got Heritage Druid. He can find Nettle Sentinels or whatever else he needs. So maybe that's the card that you just take away. No, it was one of the Deathrite Shamans after all.
Matt Nass is likely going to just slam turn 1 Deathrite Shaman here.
Yeah.
But it's going to perish.
That's exactly what he did.
To something, I'd assume.
Yeah, do you think that Sam has a way to kill it?
He's got a Tragic Slip in hand, so if he's got a land, he can cast that Carrion Feeder, sacrifice it to itself, and Tragic Slip if he's that
desperate.
But it's
Nope, he's going to play Faithlessly. Yeah, and so we see a Bombardment and a Swamp. And he's going to get rid of the Bloodghast first, because that's the easy one. Now he's got to make a decision on what the other card that he's going to discard is as Matt Nass finishes shuffling.
So one more card for Sam Black that he needs to discard. That will be Carrion Feeder. Play second land, get back Bloodghast.
And he's going to Thoughtseize him again. All right.
Matt picked up a Wirewood Symbiote.
Wirewood Symbiote, yep. So it looks like probably the Zenith is the target here, right?
Almost definitely. But no, it's the Symbiote.
Oh, interesting. So that's going to make Matt use more of his mana, basically. Because he can just go get another Symbiote if he wants it. It just slows him down. Which, since Sam does have Goblin Bombardment in his hand, that might just be what he wants. Just make him dirtle around for a while. Ooh.
Wow, that's a good deal.
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, that's really tough. Because Sam's deck right now is really wanting to keep that Bloodghast cycling in and out of the graveyard as often as possible, and it's going to make it tough.
Cabal Therapy drawn off the top for Sam.
All right, well, Sam has quite a bit of information about Matt Nass's hand. He knows he still has a Heritage Druid and the Green Sun Zenith. And a Wirewood Symbiote. I don't know if he saw that one.
The Wirewood Symbiote?
Yeah, did Sam see the Symbiote?
He got killed.
Oh, right. All right, so
he took it with
yeah, right. That's what I mean. So he just has the Zenith. Oh, he played Dark Confidant.
Okay. And end of turn, Matt's going to use the Deathrite Shaman ability to exile Faithless Looting.
Right.
Gaia's Cradle drawn off the top for Matt.
So it looks like this is forcing Sam to be more patient. Not letting. He's just going to have to go with the beatdown plan for now. Because if he lets his Bloodghast hit the yard, then Deathrite Shaman will just exile it, and he won't have that. No more interactions with it.
It's surprising to me how much damage Deathrite Shamans have done, or in Legacy games we've seen.
Tons of it. We saw Eric Froelich in our early rounds do massive amounts of damage with 2 of them and put a serious clock on his opponent. Who happened to be Cedric Phillips. 15?
I mean, we saw Matt Nass and Luis Vargas use it with untap abilities of Query and Ranger.
Yes.
And Wirewood Symbiote in their games. Heritage Druid comes down for Matt, and he's holding 2 mana up to use those Deathrite Shamans, while a second Dark Confidant gets revealed on Sam Black's current Dark Confidant. That drops Sam down to 11, potentially 7 after the usage of 2 Deathrite Shamans abilities. Sam picked up another Bloodghast during his draw step. But Sam's just going to attack in with his 2 creatures. Matt's going to take it. Post-combat, Sam's going to cast Cabal Therapy. I don't think there's anything in...
He's going to name Green Sun Zenith,
sure,
which is the only card left that he knew.
But that's actually good for Matt, because it's another sorcery.
Source of damage, yeah.
Your 2-handed giant event is about to begin.
if Sam passes here, Matt can remove that Cabal Therapy from his yard. That's 8 damage that he can deal with those Deathrite Shamans. Sam's at 11 life.
Yeah.
Very, very close to...
Yeah, it's 2-4, and then he untaps and does it again.
Yeah.
Now Sam does have the option, if he's got a land in his hand, which I can't tell.
He doesn't.
Doesn't look like he does.
Yeah, so Matt's going to use the Deathrite Shamans to remove a Thoughtseize and Cabal Therapy, drop Sam down to 7 life.
He's at a virtual 3 here.
Glimpse of Nature drawn. No creatures, though, in Matt's hand. Yeah. Pretty much a brick there, but he'll get in for the 1 point he needs.
Which is critical.
Yeah.
Because now he can put Sam down to 2, and Sam has to actually kill both Deathrite Shamans in order to not die.
Right, because Matt drew that Glimpse of Nature for this turn, so he could cast Glimpse of Nature, not drawing any cards, and use Deathrite Shaman one more time. Remember, currently there are 2 sorceries in the graveyard. There's 1 Greenstone Zenith in Matt's graveyard, and a Thoughtseize in Sam Black's graveyard.
Yeah.
Matt will play his Guy's Cradle and pass.
Matt just decides to ship it back. All right. Well, that does take care of one of the Deathrite Shamans.
Yeah.
Is it going to be too late is the question. And there's a land as well.
Okay.
It is going to put Sam to 4, though, so he's going to he can't really crack that fetch ever unless he wants to use the swords on his own guy.
And if he uses swords on his own guy, that's just another instant that's in the graveyard.
Yeah.
For Deathrite Shaman to eat up.
Yeah, that's even just for 1 turn that only helps him, so. Still not a great position for Sam Black to be in, but there might be hope for him.
So I think he can play Goblin Bombardment here and sacrifice both of his creatures to take out 1 Deathrite Shaman. Play the fetch land.
I mean, it's just that Matt's just going to activate both Deathrite Shamans, right?
Yeah, I guess.
So the fetch land is just a dead card here.
Maybe
Sam
he can
does have Tragic Slip here still, but he's going to have to try to trick Matt into blocking, or it just doesn't seem like there's too many ways for Sam to get out of this here.
Well, Bloodghast looks like he's going to get in there. Matt happily will take the 2, go down to 9. He needed that polluted LT to be a non-fetch land.
Yep, he did. And unfortunately, it also needs to make white mana because he doesn't have access to it right now. All right, Bombardment.
Okay. I mean, if you're Sam, I assume your hope is that he just Matt doesn't have an instant or sorcery, so he can live 1 more turn and take out the other Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Sam can wait a turn and cast that Tragic Slip, but we know that Matt's just got this game, pretty much, unless I'm misreading what's in Sam's hand.
He's going to play the land to get Bloodghast back. So he can do the 2nd damage to the Deathrite Shaman. But right now, so this is interesting because if he tricks Matt into using the green ability on the Deathrite Shaman to exile the Bloodghast, then that would give him the reprieve that he needed to not only fetch and get Swords of Plowshares, but not die, not just instantly die.
Yeah.
Let's see if Matt's going to fall for it, or if he's just going to say, I'd rather just do damage. You can have your Bloodghast.
I think if you're Matt, you just want to do damage. It seems unlikely that Sam can kill both Deathrite Shamans without cracking that fetch land.
That's right.
I mean, Sam's at 5, right? So, yeah, that's what Matt does. Says it's okay. Bloodghast enters the battlefield again. I think at this point, Sam sees that he's now drawing dead. He could not outsmart his opponent. Deathrite Shaman removes the Thoughtseize, dropping Sam down to 3. Deathrite Shaman dies.
Yeah, there's just nothing Sam can do now because he just cannot crack that fetch.
Pass the turn.
So now the question, like you mentioned, becomes, does Matt have another sorcery that he can, or instant he can put in the yard? And we know that he does.
Yeah.
Now Sam doesn't.
So Matt needs to use his Deathrite Shaman here at end of turn. And he does. Removes that Greenstone Zenith. Sam falls to 1 life. In response,
Well,
though,
so the ability's on the stack. So, but so Sam gets this. So what is? So if he hits Bob, then he goes to 3 and then 1, and then Heritage Druid just kills him, right?
yeah.
So he can't do that.
He gets the blood gas back, so he can kill Heritage Druid.
Oh, so he can kill Heritage Druid. Okay. So Sam's sitting at 2, and he needs to.
Yeah, so he's going to Sword of Plowshares his Bob, go back up to 1 life, then use the Goblin Bombardment to kill the Heritage Druid.
But
now
and that's
the
the game because the Swords
in
of Plowshare feeds the Deathrite Shaman, and that's going to be it for Sam Black as Matt Nass